to the Nerdy Neighborhood, everybody, and welcome back to your Friendly Neighborhood Comic Show. I am your host, Lauren, your Friendly Neighborhood Bi, and I'm joined here today by somebody who I've known for quite a while, and it's been really cool to watch him kind of grow and blossom and, get on this path of being a comic book writer himself. We'll talk more about that today, but please welcome Oscar, who is the writer and creator of a book coming to you guys soon called A Never Ending Adventure. How are you, Oscar?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having. Thank you for your words. Yeah, we've known each other for a while now, and it's great to see us growth.
I know. I feel like a lot has changed since we, first started, chatting and kind of how we met, things like that. But I'm just so excited for you the second you reached out to me and said, so I'm getting ready for this comic book campaign. Can I talk to you? I was like, yes, please. Please come on here. Well, welcome. You've got so much going on. How does it feel to start doing interviews for the first time?
That's really cool. That's really cool because I think that it's part of being a creator or writer to promote your book and talk about it, and it feels like it's a reality already. So it's great to be in this step. I think that creating the book is cool, but also this step of marketing and talking to people and trying to make them fall in love with a book that you already love. It's great.
Yeah. Well, for those watching later at home or wherever they watch, that don't know you yet, tell us just a little bit about yourself before we get to the nitty and gritty with this book.
Yeah, so I'm Oscar. I'm a comic book writer from Peru. I've been a fan of comics for I think more than 10 years, reading and loving everything about comics. Then I started writing articles and reviews and trying to get myself out there with everything I had to say. Because I knew that eventually I would become a comic book writer. I think that was my passion and I wanted to pursue that. And lately I had some personal developments that allowed me to do that. So for the past few months, I've been doing this full time and trying to create a good portfolio of stories to start showing the world that I'm a writer, I have a voice, and I want to share what I like.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. It's not often, you hear about people that they do something full time, and I know especially in a cover letter you sent out, you were an economist.
Yeah.
So you switched from kind of that very, I'm sure very stable corporate job to, hey, actually throw that away. I'm gonna write comics. It's something that I often see stuff like that in films, but not in real life. And I think it's so cool that I'm going to put on screen now this never-ending adventure you have here. Yeah. The way you describe it, very much sounds like it's a personal and kind of, self-projecting story for yourself right now. Like you have one thing, then you throw it all away, and now, throw it away, get this really great thing, and now you have to figure out how to make that great thing work.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, as you said, you see this in the movies, and it's like, oh, now I'm going to work in my passion. I'm going to write comic books. This is going to be such fun, and you go with that expectation, and it is. But then you have another set of different problems and stuff. Or there's a lot of anxiety, fears of disappointing yourself, disappointing your loved ones, imposter syndrome, feeling that am I enough for this? What happens if I fail and then I have nothing? So it's like there's a lot of self-doubt and fears that you don't think that when you see this all on paper, it's like, oh, I'm going to write comic books, that's so fun. But this is a profession, this is your job now, so there's a lot of struggles too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we hear about every day. If anybody is connected to any comic book Twitter, for example, Instagram, whatever, people are always talking about how hard the profession is to break into and then kind of keep stable in terms of income, in terms of making stuff that you still enjoy and not being held down by editorial decisions or what have you, depending on who you write for, or if you write for yourself, it's a whole thing. So I think it's so cool here. Like you create a version of yourself for this story, and you called him Mark Bear. And I think it's so cool, especially that it's a self-projection story, and you're very specific on the fact that you want to also provide representation stories for Latino men and
Mhm.
Latino creators in general. Have you found it kind of hard to find that representation in comics for yourself?
Yeah, I think that the Latino community is underrepresented, and also, so you have that, and not this. There's also this issue of men, or there's of people in general, not talking about mental health, but I think that especially in men, because of all this uh, pressure from society for men to be strong and secure and confident, there's not enough men talking about their mental health. And I think that if you
Mm,
mix that Latinos in general don't talk about mental health, and men, so Latino men, it's like they never share. And I've
mm,
experienced that in my own life with my acquaintances. So I wanted to include that. I wanted to um, share something like it was personal, and I'm putting myself out there so people can see and also learn, because I think that this is it's cool to have a Latino character that is facing all of this, but it's also cool to have this comic book that it's not the case for everyone, but I think it's like a good, it can be an inspiring, but also a cautionary tale for making this type of decisions. So it's kind of encouraging to make these life-changing decisions, face your fears and everything, but it also telling you that it's not easy. It's not like you're going to do this and then everything is going to be solved. You're going to solve all your problems if
mm.
you go and pursue your passion and do whatever you want. So it has both, so people can think. I think that's the idea, that this book makes you think and reflect on life choices.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And I love that you kind of acknowledge both those sides with, the mental health approach.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people will say, like, yeah, this is mental health. And it's either really, really dark and it shows the really downside of mental health, and validly so. And then you have the people that their only approach is, okay, well, here's, how you can be healthy or what have you in that regard. And
Yeah.
I think it's cool that you kind of acknowledge both ends, because I think that's more realistic.
Yeah, that's the whole point. It's not all bad and it's not all good either. So I think that's important, because as you mentioned, right now there's a lot of books talking about mental health, but they go to the dark side of that. And there's some
Mm,
people that are in there and they need help, so these books are really useful. But there's also a bright side to it, because at the end of the day, if you go and pursue your passion, you are going to be happier. So
mm.
it has a bit of both.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is the cover, which I think is so cool. If you zoom in on it a little bit, you can see there's like these detailed drawings in it, which is also really cool. And I'm just curious, what are the drawings within the body here supposed to kind of represent?
Yeah, that's a great detail that the artist Vinicius um, put in this cover. The idea is that it's like this person. There's a lot of moments that make you a person. There's a lot of things that made you who you are.
Mm,
So this is kind of like that. So it's like the protagonist in all of his life experiences. He's a worker. He's a son. He's a boyfriend. He's a dog owner. So and everything is in the cover. So it's like you go into it knowing that you're going to know this character to a very personal level, and you're going to see his life dissected, if you want to say it like that, like it's in the cover. So it's how moments make a person. So made in a
yeah,
comic book cover. Yeah, that was
I
really
love
cool.
that. I
Yeah.
love that, and I kind of love too how, in a way, because to me it kind of remind me of, like, how we have, like you said, moments represent person, and also these elements in our life represent us, and how kind of hard it can be to split yourself amongst all these different things in
Yeah.
your life. It can be such a challenge to do that. And yeah, the artist, one thing I love about this, you sent some preview pages we'll look at, which I'm super
Mhm.
thankful for and excited about, because in this you have multiple different artists, which means
Yeah.
multiple different styles.
Yeah.
which I know in your cover letter, and you also have a Substack letter, by the way, which I'll link below for you guys. Watch this later, where you kind of talk about why these things happen. But just for the sake of the podcast here, and those that unfortunately aren't on your Substack letter yet, but
Mm.
will be, um,
Cool, cool.
what was that choice? What was the thought process in making that choice with different artist styles within one book?
Yeah, so when I was starting to write a book and thinking of ideas, I think that I went kind of a similar process as this book protagonist. I I was having these ideas and they started to come up to me, and then I thought something felt like a good idea, but then I left that behind and then moved on to other stuff. And it was kind of, I felt that like my own process of creation was starting to think of something, but then dispersing into other stuff. And I wanted to put that in the page because I think that one of the important aspects here is that the protagonist thinks he has ADHD. He has all this mental dispersion and he can't focus. He's distracted, but this is undiagnosed, and I want to clarify that because it's part of what I was mentioning about how here in Latin America we don't look much into our mental health. So there's a lot of people here that feel that they have something because there's a lot of information available and you can see the symptoms and other people experiences outside of our own. But but everything is like it's theoretical. But at the end of the day, I think that it's something that it's a lot of people are suffering because of that. But it is what it is. So I wanted to put that on the page. So this character feels like he's mentally dispersed. He's not. Um, he can focus on something. So what I wanted to include that in the book, as he, for example, here in this page, he it's like a notification, and he's talking to the reader because this is a book that it breaks the fourth wall. It's a lot of talking and discussing, and the character will explain stuff in his life, but he gets a notification, and I feel this happening that you start talking about something, you start thinking about something, and then you get an external um, notification or an impulse or something, and then you get distracted and you start talking about anything else. And it can happen even when you're talking. It's like I'm talking about going to buy an ice cream, but then I get distracted and start talking about oh, I have to do this in my job tomorrow, and then I go to that, and I wanted to put that in a way that you feel like this person is talking, but then he gets distracted and he starts telling a completely different story. So here he's talking about something completely different, but he gets a message and he says, "Oh, this is my girlfriend. You want to meet her? So I'll tell you her story." And he starts talking about that, and that happens a couple of times. And I found that the most interesting way to show this was to change the art style. So you know, like he's in something completely different. He was in this story, and then something happened, and then he goes to another world. For example, here he travels to another world. He's somewhere else in his thought process, and you can see it clearly because it's like he moved, he disappeared. But the fun stuff is that this is the same person having different thoughts. So the art style is not so different that you don't know the characters. So you know that's him. You know that's his dog. But it's like he made a trip to somewhere else, and I found that really cool because usually when you have different art styles in a book, it's like it can be an anthology or it can be like a backup story. But all of these stories, even though they spawn from distractions and everything, they have a purpose in the story, in the main story. So it's not like you have this and then he goes back and that's not mentioned anymore, and that's just for a fan page, and that's it. It has a purpose in the story, why he's having these thoughts, why he's dispersing, why he's traveling to these different lands, or to his past, to his memories. Everything has a purpose, and I think that's cool for people to figure out. And when the book is done, how these stories link to everything, and yeah, that what happens then.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I love that, and I think you really make it work well here. especially because, like you said, there's a purpose for it and you can easily show that. And what I really appreciate is that the different artists and the art styles, you kind of decided, yeah, this works for the book. Let's have them on. They actually really complement each other, even though the styles are very different. They complement each other nicely.
Mhm.
Was that something that you were kind of considering, rather than just, all right, that's our style's really cool. That looks so different. Put it in anyway.
Yeah, I think that the main something that was really beneficial was I had the script ready and I knew what kind of story these side stories were going to be. So, for example, the first one is like and I wanted to make the stories different from each other. So the first one is like
Right.
a medieval tale. The second one is a dark fantasy, and it's like has a bright colors and a lot of different lands. And the third
Mhm.
one is more a grounded one. He's traveling to his own past, but that's like all human, no fantasy, and he's
Mhm.
back in where he grew up. So each story was done. So then I started searching for artists that were fit for each kind of story.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I found this amazing team, and they had the perfect style for each type of story. So, for example, this page by Amalas Rosa, I think her style is fitting for this page, but maybe her style wasn't fitting for the other side stories or even the
Mhm.
main story. So I think that this is the best use of each artist's style, or at least what I thought. I think they are all capable of doing every page in this book because they are all amazing. But I think that
Yeah.
each one of them excels at something, and I try to make them. I try to put them in the story that they will be excellent at, and I think that that worked out perfect. And yeah, I searched for a lot of artists, and I um, chose them. I later discovered that each one of them comes from a different country,
Yeah.
so that's really cool because I think that it was a correct choice. As you see the different art styles, and then you discover that, and you say, oh, that's right, because they come from different backgrounds, they come from different countries, they come from different probably like art schools, or they are self-taught, they have different ways of learning
Mhm.
their craft. So it makes sense for each one of them to be different, and we had an international team, and it
Mhm.
was cool to have that in this book because it was fitting to the book.
Yeah, I agree. That's something I actually want to ask about, and you just said it wonderfully. I think it makes sense for the story as well. And it's cool that, a lot of them are, fairly different countries. Like, you have one from
Mhm.
Canada, Italy, Rosa's from Germany, and then Brazil as well. So it's really cool that just like different parts somehow connect, and that even though these are very different art styles, that they, like you said, fit the side story, or the part of the story you're trying to have them kind of go with, and they still complement each other. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, yeah. I think that it was and Devin, the editor, and I, we made right choices, and I think that's all. And yeah, I think that there's also luck involved. I think with every good book and everything, there's always a bit of luck. So we
Yeah.
lucked out with these artists, and yeah, I think that everyone loved. I pitched them the book. I pitched them the story they were getting into, and they were all really happy to do it. They loved the story. They had fun with the characters. So it was cool. It was cool because I this is my first book that is this long. I've done short stories before, but
Mhm.
this is like my first time. So they've been so receptive. I'm liking it so much. It was awesome for me, and then seeing it as a reality was amazing.
Yeah, this book looks freaking phenomenal. Add on top of it that it's your first, and it's just outstanding to me. And one thing I also want to mention is that you take some like very bold strides writing wise with the comedy you throw in. Like, from the second, on this page here, he, wakes up and goes, I need to stop watching TikTok,
Mm.
which one is super relatable. Um and from the start it already got me because I was like, oh, now I feel like I'm waking up. Such relatable. I think it was just so cool to see. And then on top of that, now he's, Mark is getting up to go slay this giant octopus, giant creature, that looks really amazing drawn, by the way. Like, it just looks freaking gorgeous for the creature it is. What was it like taking kind of those, I guess, bolder steps and adding the humor and stuff? Because I have to imagine how hard that is to throw in, especially in your first book, because people often say, and I agree, like, comedy is the hardest thing to write, to perform, to anything.
Yeah, well, for me it was natural. I think that I was just going along with the character I wanted to portray. So it's this person that he seems confident, he does a lot of jokes, but when you start meeting him, you know that he has a lot of problems. So I think that it's a way of also projecting, and I think that in general we all do that. Like we project happiness, we project good humor, good attitude, but maybe you have a lot of problems and no one knows that. So I wanted to share this. I knew the character, I had this character in mind, and this was just like natural, like the dialogue with his dog that he's talking about, and everything felt natural, like what he's thinking, what he's saying. And yeah, I think that I wasn't thinking on the comedy, but and I haven't been mentioning like the jokes, but I think that there's a lot of jokes, but I don't think that those are the focus. I wouldn't call this like a comedy book or something like that, because for me it felt natural. It was I was just writing dialogue and it came along. I wasn't trying to be funny, and just it sounds like I was, but I really wasn't. It was like for me it was like I had this character and I'm just writing what I think that he will say. So for example, if I had a more serious character, maybe I wouldn't write so many jokes. But here it's like he's having fun, he's waking up, he's working, doing comics. So you imagine someone and you say, oh, this guy is like living the dream, right? But you are going to continue reading and then discover that probably he isn't, or it's not as fun as he mentions. So I think it was kind of the way of making him evolve right through the story, because he begins his journey here, but then he's going to get a bit more serious. He's going to be more honest of what he's feeling, because it's easy to show the comedy and to be happy and to make jokes and everything, but I think it's harder to start sharing your real feelings, like I'm anxious, I'm worried about something, and all this, like the negative, for to put a word to that, the negative feelings, they aren't as easy to share. So I think that was my way of showing that.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And it's so fun too, because, there's something we as readers kind of can root for by the end, in terms of, we're all hoping that by the end of it, Mark will be able to write a comic by the last page. So I don't know if anybody watching this later, there's a book I read as a kid, that's Sesame Street themed, and it was with Grover, one of them. And so it's called "Is There a Monster or the Monster at the End of This Book?" And so the whole book, spoiler alert, it's a children's book, but the whole book, Grover's like, "No, Elmo, we can't go further in this book because there's a monster at the end."
That's really cool.
Yeah, and so by the end, of course, it builds up. So you're reading this book because you're like, is there going to be a monster at the end? And it's just so fun. So to me, since that's sentimental to me, because I read that as a kid, it's kind of fun for me as a reader, because I can't wait to read this and be like, will he have a comic by the end?
Yeah, that's something I learned. I haven't been like taking classes or anything, but if I knew something, it was because of Scott Snyder's Substack class. The idea to you need to set up something, right, to start a book, and I don't know if as quick as you can, but show the motivation, show what the character is trying to accomplish. And then, as you said, it's going to be you will want to read that to see will he be able to or not, and what is going to happen with that. Because I think the stakes, there's not like the world is not going to end as stakes, but for him, probably his world will end if he's not um, if he's not able to write something or to make money out of comic books or to become a professional or break into the industry. So the stakes are not like world ending, but for the character they are. So it's cool to have that. It's cool that you know that what this person needs to do, and
Mm.
you read the book to see if he accomplishes that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, so it just got on Zoop, I think yesterday. So this is live
Mhm.
on Zoop today. You guys can go back it, support it, get all the perks, what have you, with the link below in the description. Are there any specific, things with the campaign you're excited in terms of, like, are there early bird things? Are there special rewards, things like that?
Yeah, we have the early bird specials, so you can take advantage of those. I'm encouraging people to be there early to support it, so we can have
Mhm.
a solid start, a solid base. And there's also, I wanted to include my Peruvian identity in the book because even
Mm,
though it's not like the center of the book, I think that there's a lot of books featuring Latino characters that make all of their identity like the focus of the book. Here
mm,
it's more like we're going to learn a bit about Latino identity, Latino mental health, and
mm,
it's going to be present. But I think that the story is this protagonist story, Mark's story of writing a comic book.
mm,
So I've not been focusing on his identity as much
mm,
as other books, but I wanted to highlight that this book is done by a Peruvian creator. The protagonist is Peruvian, and I wanted to put that out there. So in my campaign, I included a couple of rewards that come with, well, the book obviously, but you get this llama plushie. It's like a cute
oh,
llama, yeah, that is traditional from Peru. It has like a hat and a poncho and everything,
oh,
and
that's so
also
cute.
yeah, yeah, it's really cool, and I think that it's something that it's from here, that it will be cool to have that, and you say like you have a piece of Peru in your home. And also
Mhm,
I have a ceramic bull sculpture that is traditional in a region here in Peru. It has
mhm,
um, like a meaning of fertility and good fortune for the home.
mhm.
So I wanted to include both of those to showcase that this book has a Peruvian identity to it, and I think that's really cool. I think that the rewards are cool for anyone
Yeah.
to grab. And I just wanted to just mention that this campaign is going to be like a usual campaign from the United States, because I
Mhm.
had some doubts, like, you're doing that from Peru, are you going to be shipping from Peru? But everything is,
Mhm.
yeah, but and I just wanted to clarify that everything is going to be work with my editor that's in the States. He's going to help me do all the packaging and the shipping and everything. So this is
Oh,
like
that's awesome.
yeah, this is like a campaign like every other campaign that we have in the States, even though I'm here in Peru. But yeah, so I encourage everyone to go check that out. I think that these are exclusive from Peru, and I haven't seen any other campaign that can deliver that. So you
Yeah.
get an awesome book, and then you get also a piece of identity, a piece of Peru that you can get
Yeah.
to your house. And yeah, it's really cool. You can see the pictures in the campaign. So yeah, please check that out. I think that's cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's not often that I see a campaign where they're able to offer rewards that kind of go with the culture representation, what have you, that's in the book, whether it's super prominent or it's there.
Hmm.
So that's super cool. I will be getting a llama. My bank will cry at me and it will have to suffer because I need a llama. That sounds outstanding.
Thank
I'm
you, thank
super
you.
excited to back it and not look at my bank account afterwards after the campaign gets fulfilled. So it's gonna be great. But yeah, those you guys, if you're really excited about the rewards and all that, hit the link below in the description. You can click like 5 or 6 times and you get a phenomenal book, and you might get a llama if you click the right button. So click away, guys. Click away. Oscar, it's been so great having you. Is there anything else about this really freaking awesome book that you wanted to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention also that this book, I think that we've talked a lot about the human side of the book, but well, you may have seen in the preview pages that there's a lot of fighting and there's a
Uh-huh.
lot of action in there. So I wanted to include what made me fall in love with comics in the first place, which was superheroes and fighting and goofiness and fun moments. And yeah, we talked about the comedy aspect of the book, but that's all that I wanted to include in the page, like fighting and adventures and searching for something and then accomplishing an objective. So I think that this comic book combines the human side and the mental health and the representation that's so important to have in books, but also with the fun of the comic books that I loved. As I wanted to put all of that because this book is going to be like a presentation for me as a creator. It has everything that I love. It has my style all over the place. So if you want to know me better and know that what I'm trying to bring into the industry, what I'm comfortable with, and what I'm liking to share, I think this is the perfect book. And yeah, if you want to see fights and everything and just have fun, I think this book is still for you. If you want to get into all the other like the more profound themes, I think there's stuff in there for you. So I'm trying to show that because I've heard that people here and they think that it's like a more like a biographical and
Mhm.
something like that, which it is in a way. It's really personal. I think that I put myself out there and share stuff like personal stuff,
Mhm.
and as I mentioned, it's encouraging, it's inspiring, and hopefully it will resonate. But it's also fun because it's like
Yeah.
I had this opportunity and I wanted to have fun. I wanted to create. I wanted to show the characters fighting and have like these high stakes, like it was a superhero book. So it has
Yeah.
that too, and I'm proud that I got to, like, this is my first work, but I got to put everything that I loved into one book.
Yeah, I feel like that's not something a lot of creators get to do as
Yeah.
well, is to put everything they love into one book. So the fact that you've been able to do and kind of have that freedom is great. And yeah, I mean, these pages alone, I'm like, this is an adventure story mixed with all these other different aspects and themes and elements. And more than anything, though, it looks like an adventure story to me, and I can't wait to go on this wild adventure and see what the world Mark does by the end of it.
Yeah, and the other thing that's important is that this book is a one shot, so it's a 32 page one shot,
Hmm.
and I wanted to do that because first I wanted to show that I could do a story from beginning to end, so like
Yeah.
I know how to close a story. I think it was important. Sorry, it was important in my first work to show that I'm able to start the story, but also to close it, because I think that some stories start really strong, but then you get into issue 5 or 6 and it's slowed down. But here I wanted to keep the stakes high all the time, tell a
Hmm.
fast-paced story that's fun and has all this human side, and also I think that's a lot of people that say, "Oh, this is this guy's first book, and if I do like an issue 1, when is issue 2 coming up? When is issue 3 coming up? Probably, and I don't want to start something that doesn't end." So
Hmm.
here you get the whole story. It has a beginning, it has an end. So yeah, consider backing it up, because you will get everything. You don't have to wait like 6 months for part 2 or anything.
Yeah.
And I do have other work down the line for the second half of the year. So if you like the book and
Nice.
you want to see more, I will be creating more. And yeah, I'm really excited for it. I'm really excited for people to read it and to see the opinions, because like this is my first time getting out there. I think that it has had a great reception from people in the community, from other creators,
Hmm.
from friends and everyone. Like they love this book, and
Mhm.
hopefully when it's done, when it's ready, um, I can see that like the feedback. I'm really excited to hear the people's thought on the book and my style, to see to start learning more, because I want to be here for a long time. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too. I
Mhm.
love that's a one shot. I love that something that has something for everybody. A lot of people like to say their comic has something for everybody, and that's just not always true. And that's fine. People write specific things. This I really do feel like has something for everything. I'm super excited again, guys. Go back it, go support it, get a book, get a llama if you want. There's so many things you can get. Oscar, plug yourself away. Where can people find you? I know you've got that great Substack that I subscribe to as
Mhm.
well, all that great stuff.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Oscar OM29. It's here in my name. I'm there on Twitter. I think I'm promoting the campaign. I'm going to be very active in there, to because as a creator, I will announce my work there. I will write about some stuff in there. So I'm really active in there.
Mhm.
And yeah, my Substack is oscarwins.substack.com. And I've been on and off in there, but right now I'm fully committed to uh, bring an article, an opinion, or anything every 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And in there, I'm going to start sharing some like behind the scenes on the process, and some uh, like articles on what make me um take some decisions, or why I did this page the way I did, and how is it to work with artists. And I wanted to encourage people to reach out, because I'm I'm really excited for like my career, my work to take off a bit,
Mhm.
so I can start getting people like I was in the past 6 months, like writing to people, because everyone that I've contacted, everyone that has helped me doing this book, has been so thoughtful and so attentive with me, and I want to give that back. So
Yeah.
hopefully, when I get a bit more experience, or even now that I've finished this book and know how to do it, I would like for aspiring creators from all over the world, that are they have doubts, or maybe they don't know how to break in, or do work like what I have done with a campaign and everything,
Mhm.
and help them, because I think that for me it was like, um, if it wasn't for social media, I wouldn't be here.
Mhm.
So hopefully this also resonates with other creators from like places far in the world, that want
Mhm.
to break in, that have a story to tell. And I think that everyone has a story to tell. So I encourage people to write to creators, write me a DM, and I'll be there, and I'm excited to grow this community, to start talking with other creators, and like make friends with them. And yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And I mean, same with me. Like, social media
Hmm.
and Twitter in particular has been a big connector to the whole community. And it's actually what got me back into comics. Was not only going to a con and giving them a shot again, but keeping me in it was connecting with creators and things like that. So I love that you are open to helping support others, even as you are trying to find your own
Yeah,
place and you've got a gazillion things going on, I'm sure. So it can be tough
yeah, yeah,
finding that extra time to support. And, that's why, I always love having creators like you in the nerdy neighborhood, because that's what we want. We're a community to, support each other even while we're in our own chaos.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because sometimes it's it's so easy to just send a DM back. And for me,
Mm,
at least, when I started writing to creators, and someone, when they actually responded and they were helpful, and they tell me something, that alone, like getting a message back, that's really encouraging for someone that wants to break
mm,
in and wants to write something, or draw something, or do work in the comic book industry. So I think that,
yeah.
yeah, it doesn't have to be like um, something long, or you have to talk to them like all day, but just like hearing back from them, or something like that, is really encouraging for aspiring creators. So
Yeah.
yeah, I want to do that. As you said, everyone has like a lot of projects and everything, but just if I can help, like, yeah, send someone a link, or sharing something like my own experience. Yeah, that's really helpful, and that it's cool to have this support in the comics community.
Yeah, 1,000%. Well, you guys heard it here. Go bother Oscar. Oscar is here to help, as well as, of course, so many other creators I've been on the show. But Oscar, my dude, thank you so much for coming on. I am so excited for you. I'm so proud for you, or proud of you, I guess is the way to say that. And I
Thank you, thank
cannot
you.
wait to back this myself. Those of you guys watching at home, obviously go check out all the links below. I'll link everything Oscar said. So you can follow Oscar everywhere except to his home. Do not do that, please. And of course, please like, share, and subscribe to this video and the channel here. It helps us grow, and that also helps us let any creators like Oscar grow, which is what we're here for. We will be having a live show soon. Exclusive sneak peek. I haven't shared that with anybody yet. We will be having a live show towards the end of this month, so stay tuned for that date on the Twitter and the Discord, all that great stuff. And we'll see you guys next time in the nerdy neighborhood.